Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and honorable judges. Alone, we can do so little. Together, we can do so much. This is a quote by Helen Keller, an American author. This also applies to big tech companies. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, this House opposes the motion. The motion being this House regrets mergers and acquisitions within the tech industry. In this debate, I will first explain why does this motion exist and what does it mean. Second, I will define the necessary words. Third, I will state my ultimate goal in this debate. Fourth, I will create rebuttals to the opposite sides of the House statements. And finally, I will further elaborate my arguments. First, what does this motion mean? Why does it exist? This motion exists because there is a fear that it will eliminate all competitions and monopolize the economy and many other downsides that people believe. But it is far from the truth. Other big tech companies can still compete in the tech market and it's far from being dead. I will further elaborate this in my argument. Second, definitions. Merger by definition means a combination of two things, especially companies into one. And tech company, it's generally a company whose primary business is selling tech or tech services. For example, YouTube, TikTok, Google, etc., etc. On to my third point, goals. What is my ultimate goal here in this debate? My ultimate goal here is to prove that mergers and acquisitions within tech industry brings more good than harm and is perfectly justified. On to my fourth point, rebuttals. First, the opposite side of the House stated that mergers and acquisitions limits the user's privacy rights and that the user doesn't consent to its data being used. But the matter of fact is the user do consent on their own free will. They consent on their data being used by the company within the terms and conditions they have consent to. On to my second point. The opposite side of the House said these mergers can cause labor rights to be violated. But violation of labor rights may or may not happen regardless of mergers and acquisition. A single company that is not merged with any other companies can still violate labor rights. So it doesn't matter whether a company merges or acquire another company. It is purely based on their own company. On to my third point. The other side of the House stated that it limits the user's ability to choose their services. This here, you got to understand that one person can use multiple services and platforms, including their friends and family. They still have the ability to choose. They won't be forced to use only one platform. They can choose whatever they want. And finally, on to my arguments. I'll bring out two arguments in this debate. First, I will be addressing misconceptions of mergers and acquisitions. And number two, why mergers and acquisitions are justified. On to my first point. It will not eliminate all competition from a market. The matter of fact is there is still many big competitors who are competing in a healthy way. Let's look at the statistics. Instagram has 1 billion users, Facebook has 2.85 billion users, TikTok has 1.1 billion users, Snapchat have 500 million users, and Twitter have 187 million users. Healthy competition still exists in the tech industry, and by merging one company to the other, it will not fully eliminate all the competition there is. And then, merging companies does not infringe the user privacy rights. Let's take a look at Instagram's terms and conditions. They say that some of your data can be shared to the businesses that are legally within the same group as Instagram. They are perfectly allowed to use some of your data, and you, the user, consent to it in the terms and conditions. And with every new merger, there will be a new terms and conditions that you can choose to consent or not. It does not violate the user's privacy rights, and it still matters to you, the user, whether you consent to it or not. On to my second point. Why mergers and acquisitions are perfectly justified and good. Point A. Smaller company that has potential can be funded by the bigger company that acquired it. This in turn benefits both the company. The smaller company can fulfill their dreams and maximize their potential with the funding they are given, and the bigger company gains more profit by acquiring it. For example, EA buys Respawn Entertainment. Respawn successfully created a, a game called Apex Legends, which is still very successful until now. EA buys BioWare, and BioWare creates successful games like Star Wars The Old Republic and Mass Effect. On to point B. It accelerates innovations. By merging and acquiring two companies, they can develop technologies much faster than they could ever do it on their own. For example, being Oculus Rift, a virtual reality technology that is now bought by Facebook. By the funding of Facebook, this technology quickly innovated. This technology quickly becomes better and better, and this is due to mergers and acquisitions. And finally, the bigger the company, the more they help the country's economy. In 2018, Gojek provides approximately 9.9 trillion rupiah for the national economy, and that is why I believe, and that is why this house believes, that the bigger the company, the more they provide for the national economy, the more they are going to help this country. And one way of doing that is by merging and acquiring. In conclusion, mergers and acquisitions are good and perfectly justified, and this house proudly oppose the motion. Thank you.